Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. I've been running a lot of D&D lately, which is not a problem. I love 5th edition. I am very blessed. I've got a number of groups, all of them are just stellar players, and I'm playing in groups with good people and good dungeon masters. So it's been a joy. I get to go back to the game I wrote this week. I get to pick up the victory system. The Warriors of Wednesday. We just didn't exactly finish our D&D run, but we got to a good point in the story, and someone else kind of was feeling a space game, and so we're doing something a little different. We're going to round robin the space game. We're doing collaborative effort to do the world building, and then we're going to everyone's going to run an adventure and then pass it off to the next person to run another adventure in this with the same characters in the same setting. And hopefully we'll eventually tie this all together into a single narrative. Maybe, if it works out that way, that'd be awesome. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about what it takes to run a space game, or at least what it takes to build the setting for a space game. It's different from running a fantasy game. You know, there are a lot of parallels. You know, for magic, you have high technology. For fantasy races, you have aliens. For you've got the potential for psionics or other things can be measured. But there are some very specific considerations you have to make when you're running a space game. How high is your technology level? Ideally, you have some quirk of technology which allows faster than light travel, if not also faster than light communication. That would be that makes it possible to have a contained setting with multiple worlds in it. If you're doing slower than light space travel, which it's a staple of science fiction, you can do cold sleep or some form of stasis and just send people the long way to get where they're going. But that would have to account for the fact that everything's going to be different when you get there. If it's going to take 1,000 years for your ship to get to another planet, that planet's not going to be the planet you started off to go there. For a colony ship, that's one thing, but for regular travel, it'd be like leaving the United States in the 1920s and ending up in Germany in the 1940s. It would be traumatic at the very least. For doing this between accepted places. Going someplace new, it really doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter what it's going to be like when you get there, because you have no idea what it was like before. So if you have set worlds that are multiple light years apart, you need faster than light travel. You just do. And if you have faster than light travel in your game, and I recommend it, you need to figure out how that faster than light travel is happening. The two big options I usually throw out there is your ships. Are they using hyperspace or warp drives? Not the same thing. It's the difference between Star Wars and Star Trek. Hyperspace, your ship leaves the physical universe with the laws as we know it, goes into another dimension, reality, what have you, where the speed of light is not the constant that we're used to, or contraction of the universe has begun and everything is just closer together. For whatever reason, the travel in hyperspace is much, much faster than it is in normal space, and then you come back to normal space and reach your destination. Warp space is, or warp drives, which is that there's actually some stuff on the design blocks now. Some very impressive theoretical physics that might be able to work out to real world stuff, where rather than going through into another dimension, or trying to rely on physical laws being different somewhere, you use the ship to weaken space in front of your ship and strengthen space behind it, basically creating a wave in space-time that propels the ship. The ship is not actually moving, space is moving around the ship, so that the only thing that can move faster than light is the expansion of the universe itself. Space-time itself can move faster than light. That would explain the expansion of the universe. You just can't move faster than light within space-time. So by moving space-time itself, by warping it and causing the wave that a warp drive would, you can go as fast as your engines can get you going. Or if you have multiple civilizations and multiple societies, you can have a combination of these things. Some races use warp, some races use hyperspace. And then you can get weird stuff. Maybe there's jump gates, or someone has established gates that for whatever reason, perhaps quantum entanglement, if you enter into one gate, it simultaneously appear out the opposite gate, regardless of the distance between them. Your star gates and the jump gates from Babylon 5. And so it relies on someone having constructed that system. Perhaps a precursor civilization or someone who's just been around forever, and those jump gates are already there. The process of building those could be a campaign, but it'd be an odd one because it'd be a really, really long-term thing. Got to have slow ships go out to eventually build the gate at the far end of of your destination, or explorers going out in slow ships, waking up out of stasis when they get to their destination, and task number 1, build your gate so that you can get materials from the homeworld if everything is still there. It's been a long time. Okay, that's kind of fascinating. Now I might want to jump in on something like that. Or psionic teleportation. You have a lens in the ship that allows someone with a psionic talent to exercise that talent over the entire vessel. And this person's talent is teleportation, and the ship enhances their ability. So they want to be on the other side of the galaxy, and they are. This is a good one. I think Michio Kaku actually suggested this one, where rather than point-to-point teleportation, you don't have the Star Trek transporter, you have a scanner at one end and a very advanced 3D printer at the other end. And you send out a probe that has gone slow space, but the probe has a quantum entanglement communicator built into it, so that an atomic particle or a series of atomic particles on one side that you retain on Earth, what changes happen to those particles happen to the corresponding particles on the transport that you're sending out immediately. The effect of quantum entanglement. And so you can use that to drive a binary communication device. I step into a scanner on Earth, and everything about me, tetrabytes of information about me, are scanned in down to the position and state of the atoms in my mind, or that constitute my mind, my brain, my everything. And that information is sent via quantum entanglement to the ship at the far end, equipped with a 3D printer that can, atom by atom, build a duplicate of me on that planet. I have not gone there, but I am there. The ethical considerations of this are kind of staggering, but or you have just scanned the current state of my brain and corresponding systems that all constitute my thought processes, and you send that to a computer system at the far end that is loaded into a robot. So I am still my mental presence is there. I'm there functioning, doing the job I'm supposed to do for the colony or whatever we got up there while I am still functioning on Earth. It's a lower risk form of space travel. But then you've got these colonies out there that are made of people that already exist here. And so you don't actually have the faster light travel back and forth, but you have the ability to send signals and communications, and in that way you build a communications network that lets you send duplicates of people as opposed to having spacecraft that can break the speed of light. So many possibilities, but you have to figure out how that is going on because you got to build spaceships for your game, and you have to have guidelines for building spaceships so you can pass those out. So people, I want to build this corporation, and we're going to have ships that have these capabilities. Well, my corporation builds ships that are a little bit lighter, but a little bit faster too. Or my ships are just maulers. They're just big, heavy, slow things. But once they get into the middle of a fight, they've got so many guns they can just take everything out. Because that's one of the big things about space games is you get to do shipbuilding and have space combats. Whether realistic or not, we're not dealing with realism at the moment. We're dealing with space fantasy, or even if it's hard science fiction, it doesn't have to be entirely realistic and probably shouldn't be. Our fiction is meant to be exciting, particularly when you're role playing it. So, do you have faster light travel? How high is your technology? How is your medical technology? Can you just build a duplicate of someone? Can I 3D print me a new me? Oh no, I've got pancreatic cancer and I'm going to die. There's nothing we can do about it. Well, let's just print you a new body without pancreatic cancer, transfer your mind into it, and now you're fine. Can I clone myself a new arm? Can I build a robot me? Can I transfer my mind into a computer system? Can I become entirely digital? Are we a society that has already done that? Questions. You want to know these things. Weapons technology, armor technology, which should pace with one another, but they're never going to be quite the same. All these things, have a handle on that, because that's only a part of it. How do you travel faster than light? How do you heal from wounds? How do you engage in war? How do you protect yourself from war? You need to know that stuff at the very least. Are there other inhabitable worlds? One would hope so, but it's not necessarily the case. You can be going to artificial environments or mining colonies or what have you, things that have been built up. But are there other habitable worlds? Can you actually go to another planet and beam down and survive? Do you have teleportation on your ships? Good question. Other planets out there. Is there other intelligent life? Are there aliens that you can encounter? Are there, and are they going to be mostly like us? Is it a Star Trek universe where everything seems to be based on more or less the same genetic template? Is it going to be something where everything is out there and it's all really weird and you're not even sure if your biologies are going to be compatible? Maybe you're meeting through telepresence, or you have to go into sealed chambers next to one another to have any kind of proximity. Maybe your biologies are poisonous to one another. I absolutely cannot eat that guy. I guess we're going to have to be friends. Well, that's a odd basis for diplomacy, isn't it? Well, we can't eat you, so how about foregoing that war? Warfare. Is there a state of warfare existing in your world? Is there an empire out there that is trying to accumulate worlds that might not want to be accumulated? Are you a part of that empire? Are we the baddies? These are all notes that need to get jotted down. What is the civilization that you're working from? What kind of government has it gotten around to? Is it a corptocracy? Because those are absolutely a thing, and these days seem way more likely than we thought they might in the past. Or is it a cybocracy? Have we perfected some form of democracy? Is there a form of communism that works as well in real life as it does on paper? Perhaps if it's administrated by machines. And having all of that, where does your character start? I have just made a player character for this setting in this game. Where do I start? What is around me? What do I have to work with? Now, when you're dealing with the victory system, as I am going to be, you have some other considerations to make. There are some special abilities that people can have, some weird stuff, abilities characters can acquire in character generation or through play. Psionics, I would absolutely say psionics is a default yes for a science fiction game. Martial arts, I see no reason why not. Having the weird, bizarre, esoteric science fiction martial arts kind of abilities. Yeah, that's half of Star Wars. Um, Mechanica or cyberware. Yeah, absolutely. That seems like almost a given. Again, in a space game, if I lose an arm, can I have a mechanical replacement put on? Um, Even if a cloned replacement or a regenerative process is a possibility, could I instead elect to have a biomechanical, harder than steel arm put there instead? Yeah, and there's some circumstances where I can see that as being a absolute boon. Um, I mine asteroids for a living, and well, I've had 4 sets of hands regrown because they just get shredded when an asteroid. And I'm lucky it's just been my hands, but an asteroid's rotation changes on you, and you're going to lose something. Now I got these steel jobbers from the elbow down, and yeah. Now these have gone for 8 missions. Had 4 asteroids change direction on me. Not a problem since. Got little magnets built in too, so I can get a really, really good grip. Doesn't matter if the asteroid changes its rotation. So yeah, Mechanica, absolutely. Superpowers. Uh, in the Destiny 2025 setting, superpowers are often described as the result of alien genetic experimentation, but I can fly, I can lift a ton, I can shoot lasers out of my eyes. Some of these work well as alien abilities, things that an alien physiology might allow you to do. And some of these things, again, genetic experimentation or some kind of super soldier program, yeah, you can fit that in. Again, this is one of those cases where you have to ask the game master, I'd like to do this for my character. Would that be acceptable? And then we come to the potential hitch in the road. Magic. You have psionics, and psionics as a pastiche is a replacement for magic in science fiction games. No, you don't throw a fireball, but you can use pyrokinesis to increase the temperature in that area so rapidly that things tend to oxidize, and you might get an explosion out of it. In a dedicated sci-fi game, you do kind of have to disallow magic. Kinda. The thing of it is, the Cthulhu Mythos by H.P. Lovecraft, while it is horror at its core, it is cosmic horror. It is horror with a very strong science fiction foundation. The superstructure is all science fiction. Everything it's filled with is eldritch dread, but the wonderful thing about the Lovecraftian material is that it is the marriage of those things, of the science fiction and the horror, in just the most dreadful way, delightfully dreadful way. So there is room for things we don't understand in esoterica and the occult in science fiction. Uh, there are occultists on Earth now. Real world, I might not be able to open up a phone book and look up an occultist as I might be able to do in a Call of Cthulhu game, but if I did some research, I got on Google, I could probably find a few practicing occultists in Los Angeles. The study of uh, the strange, the bizarre, the supernatural is a study. Whether or not these things are real, there is enough strange stuff out there to justify there being a profession to pursue it. In a role-playing game, even if it's a space game, there's going to be occultists. Maybe that means there should be an occult. Maybe magic is a thing. Maybe it's all little magics. Maybe people can just study cantrips and get little effects. But there's an area of learning that someone could indulge in that might give them these abilities. It'd be a really unique edge in a space game if you were even to the smallest degree a spellcaster. Which means because this is shared world building, that's a question I'm going to bring up to the group. Do I want to have that in it? But that's a consideration you do need to make. Are you going to have really bizarre, strange things? I've seen settings that had the Manhunter setting, which is all humanoid robots invading human space and trying to. It's our creations have come back to revisit us and are trying to destroy us thing. But there are magic users, there are groups of magic users in that setting. And it kind of works. So I like to have it in there. It's hardly necessary. Having these considerations under your belt. Having an idea of what technology my character can have, what abilities, what kind of skills they're going to need to get by in a particular job, what kind of situations they're likely to get into. What's your group doing? Because this is now an entirely other consideration. You've built a universe out of these considerations, and out there may or may not be aliens and hostile civilizations and whole empires that might be riding down on top of you, but you are sitting behind a desk doing word processing for a living, trying to work a 9 to 5 before you catch the maglev train to your containment bubble so you can engage in some virtual reality entertainment until you need to go back to work the next day. You're just some person, or maybe you're a grunt in the military, or maybe you are staff on a starship. What are you doing? Why is everyone getting together? What is the arc? For a shared campaign like this one, there is not a single arc. These characters are going to be, I know the players involved. I am one of the players involved. So the characters are going to be disparate. They're going to have way different backgrounds. They're going to have different goals and different methods of reaching their goals. Different levels of sanity, different levels of psychosis, perhaps. Some of us in this group, in the Warriors, try to make distinctly different characters every time we play. I don't see that being an issue here. That's probably going to be the case. But there are still some commonalities. I have no idea what I'm going to play yet. I have no idea what anyone else is going to play. So it's really hard for me to try to envision, well, what kind of situation are we going to wake up in that is going to make this something we are all trying to do together? Do we start the game with a common set of goals? Do we develop a common set of goals as a result of a disaster or some trauma? Or is someone going to scoop us all up, sit us down in a bar, and give us a mission? All of those work. If it was just me, and it is not. And some of the folks involved in this game may be watching. Hi guys. But now that I'm thinking about it, you take some commonality in the civilization, shopping or traveling. Uh, everyone's in, not in a starship, but at a starport, at a transit hub of some sort. You're going someplace because people are going places all the time. Someplace that personal transportation can't get you to. So it's not like I'm taking my car or my private yacht. This destination, you got to go on the liner. So everyone's in the port waiting to board the liner, and a meteor hits it, or there's a terrorist bomb. For some reason, there's an explosion. Love starting with an explosion. And uh, an explosion works way better than a terrorist attack for a number of reasons. You want this to be a natural disaster if possible, or perhaps a man made disaster, but start this off with a disaster. Because I want, as a game master, I want to read on what these characters are made out of as soon as possible. I'm going to be tailoring later adventures down the line to how these characters react to this. You find out about a character under stress in extremis. That's where you see what someone is made out of. There is an explosion. People are hurt. You're venting atmosphere. And if you don't do something very soon, not only is everyone else going to die, but you are too. What do you do? Do you jump up and start trying to help people? Do you see if you can seal the atmosphere breach? Do you run and hide? Do you see if you can find there's at least one space that's going to stay airtight throughout the entire thing, and that is your space, and everyone else can back off and die? What do you do when it is life or death and everyone is yelling and help does not seem like it's coming from the outside? What do? You drop that situation in your first adventure, and two things happen. Okay, a number of things happen, but two things that I'm involved in. I see how those characters react. I see how those characters act in that I get to see the upper ends of some of their performance. I get to see what they can pull off when they try really hard. Two, I have a chance to put these people together. Everyone else is, for one reason or other, either injured or useless in a terrible situation. And these are the people who have got to pull together. There may be a few NPCs that stand up and also do some work. Those are NPCs which may very well be with them until the end of the campaign. Or I can heighten the danger by offing one of them during the disaster, either way. And I get the player characters to stand back to back, perhaps dragging one another out of their individual little spaces so they can all help. And I get to form an adventuring party out of them if they did not start the game as an adventuring party. Okay, and then I've got a reason for people to come to them. Hey, you're those guys that survived the spaceport wreck over in Alpha Tau. I could use some people with your talents. I will pay you top dollar. And now they're consultants for bad situations. Now they're a fast response team. Now they are celebrities, maybe even. And maybe that was a terrorist attack. And they thwarted the worst of it, and now the terrorists are angry at them, and you have a nemesis situation. If I'm running it. I don't think I'm running the first session. That's probably for the best. Because I'd rather be in there reacting to that for whatever the first situation is. And that is my style as game master. I like there to be a fair constancy of action. There are downtimes. There's a shopping episode. There's the emotional times. There's the times you're interacting with NPCs, but I always have an action sequence in the clip. You always want to have something. Okay, everything's slowing down. People are starting to check their phones. The responses are starting to come 15, 20 seconds after I say something. And people are just kind of casually coming up with their next set of actions. Suddenly a shot rings out. That is enough of that nonsense. We are now going to have a chase scene. You're now going to have to fly hover bikes down this city street, after that drone that stole this so super important sample out of the lab. And if you don't get it, they could use it to hold the entire world hostage. I don't know how to fly a hovercycle. Well, this is probably the best time to learn how, because you have got to catch that thing. I also like that first situation because people start comparing notes. And I will have okayed all the characters beforehand, obviously, but if I'm running, and I'm not the first person running, likely, but I want to throw some situations that as few of the characters are prepared to deal with as possible. I want that, oh, you need to go to a barge in the middle of the Mississippi. It's like, oh, the guy who can drive and swim isn't here today. Oh, damn. Well, let's see how you work it out. You want that fish out of the water. Not all the time. You want people to be competent and show off their competence and do the stuff they're good at. And sometimes you want them to have to do stuff that they're not good at, just for the flavor, and that it's a lot of fun for me. And I'll give it a try. What's the worst that can happen? And then you find out what's the worst that can happen. And that's an exploration I really enjoyed getting into. Well, that's how I would put together a space game, or the considerations I have, and kind of where my brain's going when I'm thinking about this upcoming one. Thank you for following me along in this ramble. If you enjoyed the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't enjoy the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If there's anything else you'd like to hear me talk about, or your own experiences with a space game, or how you'd answer some of these questions, anything you'd like to hear me talk about, questions you'd like to hear me answer, leave me a comment below. I will love getting your comment. You'll love leaving me one. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, why not? My channel is awesome. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button. If you do, you might want to hit the notification bell so you're alerted when my videos become available. If you would like to contribute to the channel in a more substantial manner, I invite you to hit me at my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum. Consider donating. Absolutely anything would help and allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for watching. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time with the next Matters of DeCorum.